to be focusing my project on autobiographical memory. So for this project, I decided to understand more about how the younger and older individuals impact this type of memory. The two articles I will be focusing on will be differences in the context and coherence of autobiographical memories between younger and older adults, insights from text analysis. Also, stories of the young and old, personal continuity, and narrative identity. So, for the first article, Sheldon and their colleagues explored the age differences in context diversity and narrative coherence of autobiographical memories. They hypothesized older adults represent memories with a wider array of context topics and recall memories with a distinctive narrative style when compared to younger adults. To test this, younger adults were asked to recall and describe specific single events from childhood, teenage years, and the most recent year, and older adults described events from childhood, teenage years, early adulthood, middle adulthood, and the most recent year. Then descriptions were transcribed and details were scored for internal and external contexts. Also, two forms of natural language processing were used. This includes topic modeling and internal similarity analysis. Natural language processing is a type of AI that allows computers to understand and interpret human knowledge. So topic modeling is used to analyze the overall context uses in each memory, while internal similarity analysis calculates the coherence of memory narratives. And the researchers focused on the variables age group, and the time period from which the memories were recalled. From this, Sheldon measured the context diversity. The maximum topic score indicates how focused or diverse the context topics are in the memory, while entropy score reflects the randomness of the context topics. Also, narrative coherence shows the internal similarity score, which measures the coherence of the narrative, with lower scores indicating most recent shifts in context and less chronological coherence. Also, details is what they also measure for internal and external, which internal are specific and external are general, not specific to the event. And these variables are analyzed to see how they varied based on the independent variables of the age group and memory time period. So for the results, the context diversity, older adults demonstrated a greater context diversity when recalling autobiography memory compared to younger adults. This was shown by a lower maximum topic scores and higher entropy scores, indicating that older adults' memories drew from a wider variety of topics. And there was also no significant effect of the memory time period on context diversity, meaning that context diversity was consistent across different age and life stages. Secondly, for narrative coherence, older adults had lower internal specific similarity scores, suggesting that their narratives continued more shifts in context and were less chronologically organized than those of younger adults. Memories from longer ago were described with high internal similarity scores, which showed greater chronological coherence compared to the memories from more recent times. And the last result is relation to episodic memories. For older adults, greater context diversity was associated with generalizing more specific internal details. And for younger adults, high context focus was related to more internal details. And the narrative coherence measure did not significantly relate to the generation of internal or external details of each age group. So for the conclusion of this study, researchers concludes are generally well supported by the data. The findings align with the established theories of the cognitive aging and provide new insights into how older adults may adapt to episodic memory difficulties by relying on the broader context base. However, while con compensation strategies are useful, there's potential drawbacks such as increased susceptibility to false memories. This new perspective adds depth to the understanding of age-related memory changes. And for the second article, McLee's goal is to investigate how people of different ages, specifically younger adults and older adults, develop and express their narrative identity. And narrative identity is how people understand and contribute their personal story based on past events. McLee has two hypotheses. These include the older group would be more likely to have explanatory connections representing stability than the younger group, who would have more likely to be change connections than the older group, and change connections would associate with responding more recent memories for the younger group. For hypothesis two, she they believed in comparison with the younger group, the older group would be more likely to have an event connections and theme in the narratives. To test this, the participants were asked to recall and describe three life-defining memories, vivid, emotional, and personally important, then to describe each memory. McLee focused on the age group, younger and older participants, and gender, which will impact narrative identity and autobiographical reasoning. McLee measured life McLee measured self-event connections, whether these connections represented stability or change. They also measured level of reflective processing, the depth of thought participants reported engaging in when reflecting on their memories, measuring from a scale of 1 to 5. Also, event connections, which is how one event leads to another, and themes, the presence or absence of a central theme running through the three self-defining memories. And all of these variables are used to access differences in how younger and older participants, as well as their genders, construct their narrative identities. So for the results, the first thing is age differences. For the self-event connections, there was no significant difference between the younger and older groups in the overall frequency of self-event connections. And they actually found that for exclamatory connections, stability, older groups has significantly more exclamatory connections than the younger group. And this is overall suggesting a greater focus on stability. While with change connections, the female participants had more change connections than males. For the reflective process, there was no significant difference in the level of reflective processing between the younger and older groups. And for the event connections, older groups had a higher number of event connections compared to the younger group. And for the overall theme, older groups were more likely to have a central theme running through their self-defining memories compared to the younger participants. Now going to the gender differences. For the self-event connections, male participants are more exclamatory connections compared to females, while female participants are more change connections than males. And also, females score higher in reflective processing than males. And then for the overall theme, female participants were more likely to report a central theme in their narratives compared to male participants. And the differences between male and female participants in exclamatory and change connections are more pronounced in older age group. Older males showed a stronger presence for stability, while older females focus on more change. And also for the results, recency of memories in younger groups. Younger participants were more likely to report change connections for memories that were more recent, struggling with the current transitions' influence on their focus or change. And with the overall correlations for the variables, for older adults, more reflective processing was positively associated with the change connections, indicating that deeper reflection in this group may have helped them accumulate change more effectively. And this pattern was not seen in the younger group. In conclusion, younger adults focus on change and transition, with recent events impacting their narrative identity, while older adults emphasize stability and a overall theme, suggesting a more integrated and resolved sense of self. They seem to have used narrative identity to maintain a coherent and a continuous self-report. And for gender differences, women generally showed more complex and reflective narrative identities, while men focused on stability. And overall, this highlights how narrative identity evolves differently from a life sense, influenced by age and gender, on how life stories serve varying psychological functions at different stages of life. And overall, this is all important study because a lack of information regarding biological memory within age groups. These articles allow readers to understand how episodic memories we're experiencing will change over time.